Hello, hello. Happy new moon in Gemini, coming up in a couple hours on the 6th of June, Thursday, Jupiter day at 16 degrees, which will be at 5:37 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, I just wanted to mention a few things about this one. There's a lot of Gemini energy going on. If you're not sure what Gemini energy feels like, it's definitely the feeling of having, it could be overwhelmed for some, especially if you're not used to like so much back-to-back activity. There's so many opportunities that are presenting themselves, which is awesome. I mean, we are in this, like I've said before, this liminality phase where we don't know quite exactly what the steps are in front of us. We're not going backwards. We're not going back to what we were doing before, because that's not in alignment with our true selves. And so we're figuring out what those next steps are, and a lot of it is trial and error. So it's kind of having, you know, an iron in every pot and seeing what works and exploring, just really exploring, and having the urge to do all the things. And that's pretty much Gemini, like wanting to know everything, have all this knowledge, have all the details, just know a lot of facts before making a decision. And this is going to be carried on through the next year with Jupiter and Gemini, but for the moment we have heavy Gemini energy with the moon, the sun, Venus, who will all be at 16 degrees in a few hours. And Venus and the sun had their official Cazimi, was it yesterday? The 4th, at 14 degrees. And 14 is a Taurus degree, so really feeling into our bodies and making sure that we are paying attention to the somatic feelings that are coming up, making sure we are feeling good about the decisions that we're making, the things that we're thinking, people that we're meeting. So we have, yeah, the sun, moon, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, and yeah, Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, so that makes it even that much more of like a potent Gemini energy right now. But Mercury will only be in Gemini for a few weeks. On the 17th, Mercury will move into Cancer, which will be all about the feelings. And so really seeing and, well, feeling how these decisions that we've made resonate with us, and like how it feels to us in our body, in our gut. But with the new moon in Gemini, there's a lot that can be said about this one. It's going to be in conjunction with the North Node of Uranus, I think. Yeah, I spoke about it before, like the planetary nodes. Each planet has their own nodes, just like the moon has the North and South Node. Like the moon's nodes right now are in Aries and Libra, North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra. And they change about every year and a half or so. So in January, and they move backwards. The moon's nodes move backwards, and so in January we'll be moving into North Node, Pisces, South Node, Virgo. But every planet, Pluto, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, they all have their own North and South Nodes as well. And this new moon at 16 degrees will be at the North Node point of Uranus. And Uranus is the planet of unexpected events, sudden change, like thinking outside of the box, breaking the mold. And it's really, it speaks to astrology, things that are out there beyond our limits. It's the modern ruler of Aquarius. The traditional ruler is Saturn, which is all about limitations and restrictions and rules. And so Uranus is the energy of breaking away from those limitations and breaking the rules and seeing what else is out there, and yeah, just having that rebellious vibe of breaking the status quo, like not fitting in, you know. And yeah, there can be a lot of awesome discoveries with this Uranus energy. And then, you know, every planet has like a light and dark side to each of them, like a high vibe, low vibe. Sometimes, you know, on the low vibe of Uranus, it can be rebellion for rebellion's sake, without really having any Like there's no method to the madness, you know. It's just like breaking, or like just not wanting to be part of the crowd for the sake of, you know, like standing out from the crowd. But yeah, this is a significant, really significant moment, especially also with the conjunction of the Venus star point, which is Venus and the Sun. And so let me see, there is, let me just check the nodes of Venus as well. I think I might have mentioned the annual planetary nodes that I got from the NORWAC conference, care of Bradley Maragon. He has done a lot of research on the planetary nodes, and let's see, November. Today is June. So Venus's nodes move a lot faster than the outer planets. Mercury, Venus, and Mars's nodes move faster. So June 6. Yeah, the north node of Venus will be at 16 Gemini, and the south node of Venus is 13 Gemini. And so we are moving right along. You know, it's so not all the nodes are opposite from one another. Venus's nodes are in the same sign, but the north node of Venus is a few degrees ahead of the south node. So we are in that space where we just came off the official Venus cazimi at 14 degrees, and we're moving, like, we just moved away from the south node of Venus, and we are moving into the north node of Venus. And in the sign of Gemini, like with the both nodes, north and south node, where we're letting go of you know, those tendencies that no longer serve us, and heading toward the direction that we want to move into. As far as with Venus, it's in connection to our values, our self-worth, our relationships, money. And in the sign of Gemini, it's how we, the information that we're taking in, and how we process information. Like the information that we're receiving and absorbing, we're able to really discern and let go of the pieces of information that we know instinctively and intuitively know that is not going to, that is not productive. And so, and Gemini is, you know, the twins. It's the yin and yang. It's like finding that middle balance between the two. And a lot of Gemini people, like the essence of Gemini, is really finding that middle way. You know, like going from one polarity to the other, and like finding the middle ground. You know, and like really, it's similar to Libra in how Libra likes to strike that balance between energies. You know, making sure things are fair and just, and you know, in harmony. And Gemini wants to like find the polarities and, you know, like explore what's in the middle. And so it's really, I feel like with the Venus cazimi, it's like a rebirth of humanity, because if we think about humanity, it's comprised of the feminine and the masculine energies, and so it's coming to a middle way of those two, of the feminine and the masculine. And so it's, you know, you'll notice like in a lot of charts, you know, people who are, you know, non-binary, trans, gay, queer, whatever you want to call it, there can be Gemini energies found in the chart. And it's a lot about exploring both sides, you know, just like seeing, you know, how one operates versus the other. And so it's a really interesting formula of planetary energies that are coming up right now. And so with the, okay, like with the new moon in Gemini, I consider this to also be like new moons are like new beginnings, and this feels like new rituals of communication. And so we're learning, or we're like planting the seeds of new ways of communicating with one another, be it, you know, like masculine to feminine, feminine to masculine, like, you know, everything between. So we're creating these new ways of speaking to one another that's breaking the mold. That's, not traditional. This is the North Node of Uranus that we're moving into. And so it's really letting go of those old traditional ways, but still also holding, like making sure that we know what elements to still hold on to that are productive and are valuable, and practicing those rituals so that we can co-create something beautiful, like something that we can all be on board with. And like the new energies that are coming onto the earth, like the babies, the youth, and Gemini is connected to learning and children and students. And so we're learning like this whole new language of communication. So it's very exciting. I also consider this energy of the new moon in Gemini as fluttering friendships, especially with Venus in the mix. And there can also be, if you haven't already felt this when Jupiter entered Gemini on the 25th of May, there can be this overwhelm of mental fatigue. And some people can handle it better than others. It really depends on your chart. If you have mutable energies, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, then this can be like definitely the overwhelm of options and wanting to do all the things and be in all the places, and it's just crazy how many opportunities are arising. Like you probably want to like reach out to all these people that you might have recently met, and it's like a fine line of over like there's the feeling of spreading yourself too thin, and and that is a real thing. it is quite like I don't remember this Gemini season. I don't remember a Gemini season. I don't remember a Gemini season being quite this busy. But we also didn't have Jupiter in Gemini since 12 years ago, so like 2012. So it'd be worth looking back and seeing what was going on during that time. Like Pluto also was not in an air sign in 2012, so the things that we are getting into, the things that we're interested in, have a lot more depth. And with Pluto being in Aquarius, Aquarius is a collective sign, so it has to do with everyone, like how we are all connected. And with Pluto being in the sign of Aquarius, it's really getting to those kind of heavy matters, like those deep existential topics, like really mind-blowing conversations. And they can be those kind of conversations or like connections that change the trajectory of your life. And I mean that's what is actually being called for right now. So it's super exciting, but it's still a huge adjustment because we've been in this kind of stable Capricorn, like one paradigm kind of way of living where we didn't know anything else. We didn't know that there were other ways of living. And so that entire belief and paradigm of like, go to school, go to college, get a job, 2.5 kids, white picket fence, 9 to 5 job, is out the window. And so we're like figuring out what really aligns with us now. And this is really also going to be highlighted with a procession of squares to Saturn and Pisces. So with every planet in Gemini, each of them will be squaring Saturn, which is kind of like a feeling of limitations and like a drawback on decisions that are being made. And so it's a reassessing of the decisions. And so Venus is going to square, after this new moon, Venus is going to square Saturn at 19 degrees, and 19 is a Libra degree, so relating to relationships and fairness and justice and like all things Libran. It's also an air sign, so and Libra is where our South Node is, so this is where we're also going to be finding it easier to let go of those ideas and thoughts and beliefs that we no longer align with. Codependent relationships, like comparing ourselves, So Venus is going to square Saturn on the 8th at 19 degrees, and then on the 9th, the Sun will square Saturn. So, things may not go your way, because Saturn is really enforcing these policies of spiritual integrity. You can think of Saturn in Pisces as having the discipline and rules of spiritual alignment. Like, do these decisions, do these plans align with, these higher minded like rules and regulations? Saturn is connected to regulations. And then Mercury on the 12th will square Saturn in Pisces, which will be Mercury square Saturn. That could be the feeling of just having our ideas and our messages corrected. Like, it's not anything to be taken personally. Saturn in Pisces can actually be I consider Saturn in Pisces to be a blessing in disguise, because with all of this Gemini energy, we could really go off the rails, because Gemini can be all over the place, like squirrel, distractions, just totally shooting from the hip. It's in, like, not quite the same sort of shooting from the hip like Mercury in Aries, but with all of the energies in Gemini can kind of like be very quick-witted and come with a reaction or a response that kind of sideswipes you and like throws you off. And depending on the vibe, there can be a tendency for bullying, and Geminis like to have a laugh. Like, they have the gift of gab, so they like to make jokes, and they're not one to pass up an opportunity to have a laugh at someone's expense. And they can get away with that kind of stuff. Like, they can make the comment of like, who was it? I can't remember who it was, but it was like, it's like backhanded compliments. It's like, everybody thinks that Capricorns are boring, but I don't think Capricorns are boring. But everybody else thinks that they're boring. And like, as a Capricorn rising, it's just kind of one of those, side-eye things. And I don't have any planets in Gemini, so. But yeah, Gemini has a very quick wit about them, and they are able to get away with a lot of, I don't know if you would call it unsavory, but they get away with a lot of stuff as far as what they say, because they are able to deliver it in a very lighthearted manner, and which is something that we can all use a little of, like just being a little more lighthearted and have more fun, have more laughs, and like, just lighten up, really. But yeah, with the squares to Saturn, we do want to keep in mind, like, rejection is protection. It is a blessing in disguise. Saturn is limitations and rules and discipline, but at the end of it, there is a reward. Like, it's like learning these lessons, and then taking the final exam and being rewarded with this achievement or accomplishment that is going to sustain you, or like be sustainable, or like it'll help you in the long run. Like having a skill, or like when you go through an apprenticeship, it's kind of like an apprenticeship program where you're learning all of these skills, and by the end of it you have all these new skills, and you're able to carry it with you wherever you go and apply it to your life. You share it with other people. And Saturn is also spiritual discipline in Pisces. It is sharpening your intuition, so your intuition could be getting louder and stronger, and it's a matter of not just paying attention to your intuition, but also doing something about it and not ignoring it. So like really staying in alignment, staying disciplined with what you are aligned to, and not ignoring your intuition, and not ignoring your intuition to like save face, or like going along to get along, like withholding your opinion to keep the peace. With Libra and South Node, that's really like Libra and Pisces have a lot in common. It's like very self-sacrificing, and boundaries are a big lesson with Saturn and Pisces. And so part of those lessons is speaking up and, you know, setting your boundaries to make sure that you are in alignment with yourself, with your true self. And so yeah, Saturn's going to be retrograde at the end of the month. So I don't want to get too far ahead, but yeah, the Gemini energy squaring Saturn in Pisces and then eventually squaring Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees will be the disillusionment, like just like dissolving of the narratives that we have been fed and really rewriting our own narrative. You know, like we are writing a narrative that speaks more to our values rather than like a check, you know, like a what do you call those, like your bucket list, you know, like checking off, okay, 2 kids and, you know, 2 cars and master's degree or whatever it might be. That kind of list is you know, it's dissolving. Like those are the kind of tasks and to-dos that Neptune in Pisces will be dissolving. So that's going to be something to look forward to and adjust to, and there will be the tendency to, yeah, like just get into everything, which is part of the fun of Gemini energy. Like we want to approach this trial and error as experimentation and, you know, just, you know, basically fucking around and finding out. And, you know, there's no failure to any efforts that we're making. As long as we are learning something from it, then it's, you know, an accomplishment. So it's really all about reframing everything that we've ever done. Like we've been taught that, like, if we don't make a certain income, then we're, you know, we're like a failure in society. And we are really reframing what abundance looks like to us. And we can be abundant in time and like how much time we have to ourselves without any harm to anyone. Like, just, it could be time, it could be joy, laughter, music, creativity. Like, all of these things can be considered abundance. It doesn't have to just be money. Like, there's more to life than material things, and money is just like these paper notes that have been printed by whatever bureau or organization, whatever percentage of elites have been printing this money to, you know, it's like monopoly money, more or less. And we have to, with the help of Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, we will be realizing what true value is and what true abundance is. I think that is pretty much what I wanted to mention. Yeah, I mean, heavy Mercury energy during Gemini season and beyond with Jupiter and Gemini speaks to writing stories, narratives, and we will simultaneously be re-examining the collective narrative as these Gemini energies will be trining Pluto in Aquarius, and Pluto is like this very powerful, transformative energy that really gets to the root of things. And in the sign of Aquarius, it's getting to the root of these collective paradigms that we've been kind of blindly accepting and participating in. And now that all of these truths are coming to the surface, we are able to like make our own decisions and collectively, you know, stand up and take action, whether that's in the form of, what do you call it, when you refuse to buy from a certain store, you're like you're voting with your money, and you're also, so yeah, we can boycott. There is a way that we can protest where we can abstain from buying or using products or services from companies who we do not agree with, and that's our way of expressing disapproval of their practices, policies, or actions. So yeah, boycott. With Saturn in Pisces and squaring Mercury, this can also be a feeling of boycotting, like, because Mercury is transactions and commerce, and so we can see a lot of like boycotting happening with this kind of aspect. So yeah, we're speaking with our dollars, voting with our dollars, and yeah, I don't want to go too far ahead, but yeah, this is a major movement, and you know, we can feel it on all levels. So it is quite the energy, it's quite the new moon in Gemini. Really exciting. And yeah, it is important to just keep those stillness meetings on your calendar, and you know, it's going to be a challenge to show up, and we have to remember that, you know, our mental health is more important than whatever meeting or report or, you know, deliverable needs to be sent out. So easier said than done, but it is, you know, a challenge that is important, that we want to keep one another accountable for, you know, like as like social as Gemini energy is, we can use this social ability. We can use this social ability to also keep one another in check, like make sure that we aren't taking those stillness moments and breaking away from the screen, and moving our body and stretching, and yeah, like making sure we are getting proper amount of sleep. So okay, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. And yeah, happy new moon in Gemini, and all the best energies. Happy new moon intentions, and yeah, hopefully this was helpful and hope it made sense. Remember to stay grounded, stay centered. Like, this is really the energy of staying centered with Gemini. Like I said, going between polarities and exploring what is productive and what isn't, and finding that middle way. And yeah, lightening up, and you know, just making sure that we are who we say we are, you know. Okay, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you on the next one. Okay, ciao.